The Real Deals are on the air now.
Let's not forget to mention the prayer system.
And now, live from the Swords of St. Michael Studios, it's The Real Deals. Kenneth and Farah Deal. Hey folks, good evening. Friday night.
Yes.
Kind of a strange time. We're not sure who's going to all pop in out there, but welcome nonetheless. We popped in, so maybe you can too. It literally pops up. It's like you're doing Facebook, and all of a sudden the Real Deals are live, or some dialogue pops up to remind you of that, or something. And that's the only way you know. You can't schedule this or nothing, so it's rather like a spontaneous party, right?
I would think that's one way to say it, dear.
Yeah. So tonight we're kind of winging it a little bit, but it's not
just
really
a little
winging
bit. We just, with everything going on, we wanted to come in and not miss an opportunity to say hello, and thought, let's just do a show on a Friday night.
Exactly. And next week...
Next week, yes. Father Bob will be back. Hi, Athena. I see you in there.
And we'll do the show on...
Hi, Rhonda. Hi, Steve. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Alice.
All that fun. That'll be a good time.
Yeah, so good. Hey, like and share if you guys can. Like the video, because it'll pump it up in people's headlines. They'll be like, oh, what's going on over there? So if you can like it, hit the little thumbs thing. And then if you can share it, that'd be great too. But before we get started, like anything else, we want to tell St. Michael he's in charge. So, Ken?
Right. The Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. St. Michael, the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the malice and the snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, and we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the Heavenly Host, by the divine powers of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who roams the world, seeking to ruin us souls. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, St. Michael.
We do have the St. Michael relic. It's a huge one, though, and we got it for free. I think that there's something that you can send off and donate $50, and they send you one. That's how they
the
avoid
one that
that.
they get in the little tiny little case and everything. But we had somebody that
eventually there's
visited.
like
We had somebody that visited, and it's
How
like,
big is that
remember
thing?
that old
Ours is like 5
thing,
pounds.
the old commercials get a piece of the rock. I mean, we got a piece of the rock. I mean,
Yeah.
this is probably where St. Michael's big toe was. I mean, that's how big the rock is. I mean, it's
Big
just
toe.
fabulous. It's huge,
You're
and it's
like
great. And St. Michael never leaves our office. It's where we work and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, by default, yeah.
And Ken, we really can't start the show without a little 30 seconds of
Mary
silence. No, for all the
okay.
victims that died.
Yeah.
There were 11 in one family, or 8 members out of 11 of a
9
family.
members.
9 members.
out of
Oh my
11.
gosh!
I think it was. Yeah,
Yes, drowned.
That's
Just
7.
last night
7.
when we
7.
couldn't do our show. We're not complaining we couldn't do the show. We are not saying, oh gosh, wish we were here. We're saying God blessed us.
Yeah.
So
It didn't affect us except the electricity, which was out until 11:30
Yes,
our time, Central. And I was going to wait, and so I called Father Bob, and I said, it's probably not going to come back on because of the way it went out. And I went to the store to get some water. I didn't want to open the refrigerator, and there's a big tree across the road.
yes.
That's in the city. We're not in the country.
No, we're in the city, but down there's big trees down. I mean, it was hairy.
Yeah.
So in your prayers tonight, if you can spare a little prayer in case of any of those souls and weren't baptized, didn't know God, and pray for peace. Because just when we think we have problems, we don't have internet, we sweat for hours because we had no air conditioner. That's nothing compared to all of a sudden, boom, lights out. There are no second chances,
Yeah, we had to
kids.
dig the oil lamps out just so I could write and read something. So I worked on.
Yeah, so we hope
nice
everybody's
after, but-
safe tonight, and nobody's dealing with all these tornadic winds and everything else going on. And we're going to start your night with some Friday Fright Kitties. So like and share, okay? Subscribe on The Real Deals. And Ken, what's our topic for tonight?
First, we're going to start off with our meme of the week.
Oh my!
Real fun when you haven't seen
You are so wrong. Okay, you are so wrong. You're going to have all our cat lovers getting so mad. I don't know what that poor cat is doing behind there.
Oh, my
I'm sorry,
gosh.
folks. I'm sorry. He's not right in
Isn't
the
that
head.
great? They should have made this like a lime green, like a ghost hunter video or something.
No.
We're going to run out of finding great ones because there's a lot of really stupid ones.
There are some ridiculous ones.
There's some anime Japanese.
We're talking about why am I haunted, not why is my cat doing its business behind the door.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, this is our topic tonight, but we have some Q&A questions to answer
Make
too.
me choke to death.
We're going to stick with that one. I guess I could just start with that one in general.
Yeah, why not? Because, remember we were talking about, okay, kids, there's lots of reasons why. Why am I haunted? So in coming up with some specifics to let people know, specifically, why are you haunted? Why would something want to haunt you? And we've got a couple of questions, too, from listeners we want to go over tonight, too. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, as Ken and I were talking about this, the number one reason that you're haunted, for whatever reason in your life, somebody at one time exposed you to Jesus or exposed you to God, and you're like, no, I don't want to stand that line. I want to go over here. So the number one reason that I believe that you could be having problems is you turned away from knowing God and said, no, I think I'm going to go play with what's behind curtain number 2. Wouldn't you agree, Ken?
Yeah, definitely. In page 51 in the Old Catholic Demonologist Handbook, it's old because it was published in 2000. It was actually first published in 2007. But if you kiddies want to open to the page, follow along with a Winky Dink. There used to be a cartoon that was interactive, remember? Used to put this transparent thing, and they'd tell you to trace the stovepipe, and they'd turn it into a periscope, and oh my gosh, it's Friday, folks.
What got in your oats tonight for dinner?
Why are you hungry?
I didn't have any.
Yeah, you don't.
Maybe I should have had some. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. So, and what we're talking about with case studies and examples like this is that some people out there will say, "Don't be grounded." I mean, don't go in a place, or even as an investigator or whatever, with no faith whatsoever. And they went so far as to say, even faith in a rock's better than no faith at all. That's totally wrong. That's saying that it's all a placebo effect.
Yeah, I've got faith that if I drop a rock, it's going to break my toe.
But you don't want, because if you give a superstition to anything, the only one who answers superstition calls are the dark ones. Try to keep you steered from the truth.
So true.
So on that, it seems true, for the victim and or the person who's trying to help the victim. So I guess they apply either way. You might be haunted just because you're trying to help people and you're not doing very good at it, and you're taking all their baggage with you.
Usually happens that way.
Yeah.
Oh, Grits, don't you dare say you're evil. You're not evil.
Grits likes grits, actually.
I
used to use an
know.
oatmeal as his icon. With Quaker Oats guy, the bucklehead guy.
Oh, just be sweet. Be sweet before I just drop a sugar bomb on your head.
Questions I'm going to throw in here.
As we're talking about the number of ways and why you could be haunted.
And I don't know if
old
you
wounds.
consider going off the topic.
Old wounds. No, exactly.
Okay.
We're talking about, why? Is somebody telling you, well, I'm having nightmares, I'm having this stuff happen, and you're thinking, well, geez, how can I help this person? Because I don't have that problem, and, that doesn't bother me. Well,
nightmares.
What kind of old soul wounds are these people were nursing? Old wounds that people have either buried, haven't laid to rest, haven't given up to God, basically that have eaten a hole in their psyche, like in that back closet, and tried to escape out the back wall. Those wounds, those wounds pop up like little jack-in-the-boxes. Boom, here I am to make your life miserable. Oh, you're in a new relationship? Boom, you're miserable. Oh, well, you're going to start that new job? Bam, here comes the fear. Oh, well, you know what? Anytime. You just have no idea when these old wounds are all of a sudden just going to creep their heads up. That's one of the number one reasons, too, that people, they find themselves, oh my gosh, why is this still haunting me?
Yeah, I guess this kind of can be some of the ones that would not string over the ones on oppression.
True.
This one guy was, he was doing the EVP thing. People, they listen to the recordings from their visits to our hunts or whatever. and then I'll put the plug in just like they do in TV, and I'll listen to for 7 or 8 hours straight. That's it's like psychological programming. Listen to white noise and all that, and I don't even know the extent of what studies could come out of that, of the effects. But he got what we call it's like EVP ear or something. It's really like your ear becomes oppressed, and that's pretty much what it is. I mean, in a way, it's partial possession because you've lost, the control of your ear. They can speak to you it sounds like a real voice. It's a phantom voice. So in a way, your ear is possessed. So that's something somebody could debate. Hey, that's not possession. Well, it's when it starts to manifest fully, and it's actually hijacked your ear, and you hear phantom sounds and other things, and you hear multiple voices communicating with each other. No, and I don't mean when it's schizophrenia or anything like that, because this happened a lot. They read that this woman named Sarah Estep wrote this book about EVPs, and he knew it like it's science. He followed it. He was also Christian. So at some point or another, he contacts, saw me on the web or whatever, early 2000, and I helped him out, and he got involved with his church more, started playing the organ. I guess he was a musician, and it backed off. But before it did, when I started helping him and I gave him prayers, he went into the bathroom and he was washing his hands, and the voice said, "You can't get rid of me that easy." That's the kind of arrogant stuff that demonic voices will say. But we make sure that we validate. And sometimes you can do it in such a way that you're fully convinced and you're not sure if it's real, oppression, that you can give them some advice initially anyway. So we always like to give a little connection with the problem and the solution, don't we, Farah?
Oh, no, we just like to tell people they're a mega problem. Get real. Of course. The Nortonator is in the house. Michael Norton, we see you.
Michael Norton.
Oh, my gosh. We got a great gang here tonight. I see Brandon Rach, Steve, Cheryl, Athena, Denise, even though poor Denise is like fighting off walking pneumonia. Oh, my gosh. That girl never rests.
Walking pneumonia or laying pneumonia now, right? Just laying down on the couch.
I hope she's laying. Yeah, Deel'S out there from Michigan. Hey, Michigan. Gloria's here. Deb's here.
Yeah.
So.
Wait, our Deb?
No, I think our Deb said she was going to be, maybe she's like doing it on the sly. We can't see her. So, hi, Deb, if you're in there.
It's real Deb?
Real Deb. I think Deb is like, she's incognito. She's like behind the layers, so we can't see her. Yeah. That's our Deb.
We're waiting for Deb to tell us her vacation's over.
I know, we're waiting for any time now, Deb. Your vacay can be over.
Yeah.
So anyway, onward and upward, as we look at other different ways that people are haunted, old wounds are just, unfortunately, kids, they just dig in so bad. Other things that, cause people to be haunted in our case study is they have, for whatever reason, held on to, now we're not talking about serious wounds. When I say wounds, I mean traumatic things like losing a parent, a molestation. Those are really deep, deep things. Other things that cause us to be hurt, that for whatever reason we hold on to, whether someone has rejected us, a lot of times we hold on to these things and we don't even realize that, or somebody takes us someplace and they leave us there and we feel rejection, abandonment. Those kind of issues, they bury themselves under a lot of bravado and a lot of appearances of, oh, we're going to be okay, it's not that big of a deal. And they come up and they bite us later because we really don't realize how much we had invested in that person or that incident. And this is why a lot of people think that, well, I can take a pill for this. I'm sad. I don't need to deal with this. I'll just take a pill. Well, they're finding out. What is that stuff? The Adderall? Adderall's causing suicides. Yeah. It's causing people to literally have hallucinations and hear things and all this horrific stuff that's just like, it's so demonic. So if we can handle things from a spiritual level and from a place of right reason, we don't need to get on major medications that will alter us. But if you need medication temporarily, there's nothing wrong with that. But if we can, and dealing with hurt, and putting you in a place where you are in a practice of having a circle around you of spiritual friends, family that support you, we can get out of most of these major hurts. It takes time, though, like everything else. It's not going to go away. Anything to add to that, Ken?
Yeah, most people aren't into the non-mystery part of it, when it stops being ghost hunting or being a, they call it demonologist.
Yes.
And then they go to this, and you spend all this time trying to help someone get their baggage out. Then you're doing like pastoral care, and no one's ready for that out there hardly. And we go through with it, or we find them someone who's going to be just as much help, someone that we trust.
Oh, exactly.
We had our Franciscan formation director to our list in the ministry and submitted his name for approval, and he's in. He'll be evaluating when it's when it's leaning psychological. We're going to get a second opinion from him primarily, and go in that direction. That's just an example of what we're dealing with.
He's got an excellent, literally, just he's got such a memory, and such an ability to point things out very, very quickly, and of course he has the lingo down.
Yeah. It helps to talk and as well as walk, doesn't it?
Of course.
Yeah. What's next?
Well, other things, Tony, as Tony points out, in people's walks with God, he watches a lot of Father Ripperger, so do we. We really enjoy him. Everybody is on their journey. Everybody's on their path. All right? Not all of us are all the way up here. Not all of us are all the way down here. Most of us are somewhere in the middle. And it takes a while before you realize that, I've been doing things really wrong, and I've really been sinning against God, against justice, against my partner, against my parents, and I need to do better and live a right and moral life.
Yeah.
And Father Ripperger does point out that until we can live in a state of grace, we become moreover open targets. It's almost as if somebody slices a nice raw piece of meat and throws it in the road and expects a vulture not to come by and help himself, basically.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking at.
Mop the flame.
And it's really, really difficult, because a lot of people don't understand that living in a state of grace isn't really that difficult, but it is going to be a constant daily choice, like anything else.
And a challenge.
And it's always a challenge, because there's tons of temptations. And the interesting thing is the closer you get to God, those temptations are not going to seem that obvious. The temptations are going to come from giving in to those places of hurt, those places of abandonment, those places of distrust. It's going to come from those memories that you didn't even know you had. And the temptation to give in and, shall we say, blame, judge, criticize, condemn, all the things that God warns us against doing. Now, as I was saying, in order to get to that place, we have to peel off the layers of ignorance. And what do I mean by ignorance? We have to learn just what it is that we're doing wrong and what we're doing right. Because we are basically ignorant to the spiritual state of our souls, you guys. We really, really, really are. And we don't have any idea. That's why we have to have a spiritual mentor. We have to have a spiritual director. We have to have somebody that has a clue who we are and where we are and where we're going. And even when you start. And that's, shall we say, that's not easy to find good directors that are theologically sound, that are theologically going to say, take it easy, draw back, just enjoy being with God, doing. The 10 Commandments are, pretty point blank, cut and dry, wouldn't you say, Ken? We have strong directives. This is what you can do. And then guess what? You are in God's good graces. It's kind of like, if your mom and dad are telling you to mop the floor, do the dishes, and guess what? You're going to get a piece of pie tonight. And what do? You go in the bathroom and read comic books for 3 hours and almost get the dishes done, and then you forget to mop the floor. You're not getting pie that night. God kind of works on the same premise, guys. It's pretty easy.
That's for protection, too. And
exactly. A lot of protection goes into that.
That's a key. Not having protection is almost a reason. There's so many ways to get haunted, like there was on that oppressed show. Reasons why you might become oppressed easy. So answering...
and that's just it. How else are we haunted? Tony points out another good thing is this fascination. And that's why a lot of what we do, we don't want to get you guys all excited that we're going to be talking about demons and ghosts. No, we want you guys excited that we're going to talk about what to avoid. and the pitfalls and the traps and how to pray better and how to trust and how to have faith a little bit better. Because the unhealthy fascination with death, with a culture of death, with a culture of demons, with the names of the demons, all that unhealthy fascination, all it does is it causes you to step out of the state that God calls you to.
Yeah.
And basically, like Dorothy on the yellow brick road, remember when she stepped off and all of a sudden what happened? She got attacked. Basically. She stepped off that yellow brick road and boom. Steve's monkeys came out of the closet. Those were your monkeys, right, Steve? Oh, goodness.
Got a Nortonism for that out
Yeah,
there?
that's a total Nortonism. Steve's monkeys.
Yeah.
Other reasons, Ken.
Well, you know, in Emily Rose, people asked, like, wait a minute, wasn't she supposed to be a good Catholic? And I didn't research this deep, or not too much. In other words, beyond the level. I know the case in the 1500s that basically gave the birth, pardon the expression, of the Roman ritual in the 1500s.
Yes.
And it was a very dramatic thing. But people are asking the same question.
Totally.
Why was she haunted, or why did she become
why
possessed?
did she get it? Yeah, why did she get attacked? Why her? Of all people, why her? You know,
that's a complicated thing too.
And I think that
answer,
if you can answer that, a few people would probably like to hear the answer to that.
Why did it begin access to begin
why
with?
Her?
And
why did it attack her?
Yeah. First off, she was in college. Was she in? And some people might have to answer this question. If I ask this question, is that was she in a Catholic college? It didn't matter. Do you remember that movie? I said there was the series Charmed was based on, and they were all Catholic girls at a Catholic school. Now, why would we assume that even a Catholic college is not going to have a witches' coven inside of there, where the not the fraternity, sorority is all witches? I mean, they do, a lot of their rituals and stuff. Even when they aren't, it seemed like they're based on that,
Yes.
But you might have to wonder about the roommates she might have. You might have to wonder about that she got straight A's and students didn't. She might have gotten cursed. And then when it went from there, at some point in the movie, wasn't there the big question that, that this is going to come up.
Yes.
It's going to make the news, and it's going to spread awareness, just like Gabriel Amor said the movie The Exorcist did.
Well,
and that's a good thing.
I like the number one thing Father Ripperger says, and Father Thomas, and Father, I can't think of his name. Curiosity, kids. Curiosity doesn't only kill the cat.
Yeah.
Curiosity, shall we say, lets in the rats. Yes. So you want to be careful with that curiosity, kiddies.
Yeah, like with the EVPs that, I was mentioning, too, is that you had to have a desire for it, and the desire is that you wanted to hear something supernatural. You wanted a paranormal experience, and remember Father Chad is even talking about that too. Wanting it too much is actually, desire is actually an invitation in itself. Just like it is the succubus cases. These people are married or whatever, they wanted some kind of encounter. They liked that when they saw that My Demon Lover movie or a different one, but even the Ghostbusters scene where that ghost appears above Dan Aykroyd, that sometimes people, think the Casanova thing of something coming in their door looking like, the guy from Twilight or whatever for the gals. And be careful what you wish for. Yeah, because, what you desire may be fulfilled in the ways you don't expect it, because it's always going to have its repercussions, aren't you need a sip, baby?
Oh, nothing. I was just almost dying. Steve was saying his monkeys have never been in that closet. I'm like, okay, Steve.
For all you, the inside joke is Steve is what we call Monkey Man.
Yes. He's
a regular on our
he's a regular
audience.
Yes. Got great questions
hello to Steve
too.
Out there.
And
yes, go ahead. Is there a question out there?
Well, there is a question.
Would you like to get it?
You want to take it on the fly?
Yeah.
This is pretty in depth because a lot of people don't understand. They think that it's almost as if, we look at our food sources, okay? You guys, when you go to the grocery store and you look at our food sources and all these food choices, and we see a lot of people have major health problems. Now, let's see. This is, 2018? Let's look at 1918. Let's just look at 100 years ago, or even 50 years ago. Okay, 50 years ago. Let's look at just a section of the populace, like at a ballpark, or at, shall we say, an outdoor event. You're seeing completely different diseases. You're seeing autoimmune shall we say, problems that are caused by our food. Now, why do I bring up food? Because there's a direct correlation. We're physical, we're material, and we're spiritual. Our physical body, in a big way, represents certain aspects of our soul and the state of our soul. Now, how do I draw that analogy there? And then I'll get to the question. Sorry, I'm doing a long-winded thing here, kids.
That's okay.
What I'm trying to point out is that the majority of people are not aware of the problems, the fluorides, the irons, the aluminums, all the things that are added to food that are causing such unhealthy actions and reactions in our bodies.
And plastics now.
Yes, and plasticines. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on plasticines. So consequently, when we look at our world today, like I said, 100 years ago, we didn't have TV. 50 years ago, we were just like amazed at the little boob tube in our front room. We were like captivated by Walt Disney, and oh my gosh, radio came alive. Today we are inundated constantly with brainwashed ideas. So what we think today is absolutely harmless is basically death to our soul. Our minds and our health, our mental and spiritual health is inundated with thousands of violent, negative, ugly, abasing, immoral thoughts, words, and expressions every day. You turn on the radio, you turn on the TV, or you turn it off. Why do I say this? We have a question that directly relates to this. And I think that as we say, well, it's okay if I just watch 2 hours worth of news, and then you end up watching 3, 4, 5 hours. If you're not doing so in moderation, you're hurting yourself. The same can be said as most anything. There's certain things we should never put in our mind. Never. Such as, violence to children, violence to animals, that sort of thing should never be in your mind, because once you put it in there, you can't get it out. Now, how does this correlate? The question is Wicca good or bad? Now, when we look at quote-unquote Wicca, is there a judgment? Is it good or bad? We don't say is it good or bad. Does it serve God? Okay? Wicca is an expression that was just made up in the late or beginning of the 19th century. Came around when Spiritism did, about
20th century.
20th century, about 1908, 1918. And Wicca is just this little popular term for this New Age things that plays with rocks and worships the ground and the goddess and all that stuff. What is that stuff that they put in? Is it what's that stuff, Ken, that I told you was the ingredient that they actually put in our car? It's not the carburetor. But they actually take this ingredient. It's amazing.
In the gas tank?
No, not the gas tank. I mean, no, this is the radiator. It's
antifreeze?
Yeah, this ingredient in antifreeze, and they put it in our food. That's like saying, well,
Wait a minute, the Wiccans do?
No, not the Wiccans. I'm talking about, I'm making the analogy between the food and the Wiccans of like, a little bit of this isn't going to hurt. A little bit of that ain't going to hurt. Wow. Let's see. Spiritual death, physical death. Hello.
Just trying to figure out where you're coming from there.
When people ask us, well, geez, is Wicca bad? Bad for who? Bad for the people that invented it? Bad for your dog? Bad for you? And what is bad to you? So when you're making a judgment call, which you, if you are a baptized Christian, you are required to make, if somebody says, well, Wicca's harmless, do I think it's bad? It's not good for your soul. It's not good to be around. It's not good to be aware of. So, go, Kenny.
One of the interesting things about, since I've been doing radio, and of course it was more in 2000, I don't even think there was a demand so much for it before that, is that when I wrote in the book too, 2007 again,
yes.
I had a thing in a section in there called a word about witchcraft or Wicca.
Yeah.
And I went on everybody's radio show. I even went on this guy who professed to be Wiccan. And, I don't want to bring up any politics, but you can imagine the polar thing. But I expected that because a lot of things you can do. And what did Patrick do when he went over back to Ireland? To convert the Celtics, the Druids. And anyway, so I have something in there, and he actually asked me about that article in that book because that's the one that was being sold then. And it was just it was making this comparison, saying if you have a pit bull in your house, now you grow the pit bull in your house, and because they have problems with pit bulls. Obviously, it's just not like they're just picking a dog because it's scary looking or anything like that. That just picks some of these other dogs with that flat faces or something. Those are more scary with the teeth that come up, But they have a disposition that is a concern. Well, anyway, when you raise a pit bull in the household, it might know your kids and everybody. But when that one kid goes in your yard to get a Frisbee and your dog is in the backyard, your nice little pit bull, it's not a member of the family, and you're going to find it eating that kid's face or dragging him behind a bush or something like that. And that's what Wicca's like, that... I remember this time there was this thing, and I asked somebody, who considered herself a madam, and I said, why these spirits, come and punish you because you didn't make your salt circle and you had you didn't close it. It had a little spot in there, it wasn't closed. And then they go in and those spirits beat you up that night. Can you imagine if in Christianity we messed up in the Our Father, or the Hail Mary, now at shower, now and at the hour of, you get like, now at shower of my death, amen. And then the Blessed Mother comes here and starts beating you with an umbrella. I mean, that's what I mean. It's the dual nature. Is just like, would you marry your husband that you divorced for being abusive if you knew he was that abusive?
I don't think anybody ever would. Exactly.
It's the dark side that dictates who people are and what the entity is.
Very much so.
You got to pay attention to what they done. The mob, and I use the example of the mob scenario too. That you go to, we'll just say the mob boss Louis, and Louis takes you under his wing and he lends you money and he goes, "Hey, I did you a favor, and here's that favor I'm going to call you on. Take this box down at 115th Street, knock on the door at 1220 warehouse, and say Louis sent you when he answers the door. You just give him the box, no questions asked, and and he doesn't say we're even or nothing, and he keeps asking him. Next thing you know, you're a drug courier, and you go one time, and the police are there, and you get shot or you go to jail. You got to look at the dark side of stuff. Just because that does you favors, like when the demons find you lost your keys for your car. Well, they probably hid it, for one. And the other thing is, it's like, just because they're helping you find your car keys, look at the dark nature. They're going to want to do favors, but look what the cost is. So, and with the Wicca, too, they added a lot of this nostalgic, what do they call that? This medieval kind of thing? Merry meets.
Yes.
And they say... they call you lady this, lady that. That's all a dress up. They're trying to make it look like you're the Stevie
Cosplay, in other
Nicks.
words. Costumes played.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and two, I really want everyone to understand, we're not beating or bashing Wiccan or people that practice Wiccan. What we're doing is telling you point blank, it's spiritually unhealthy, it's dangerous, it is invitational to the demonic, and it is not safe like Barbies are, okay? It's not safe. And as Steve pointed out, it's just this whole token kind of new agey thing. We don't hate people that practice Wicca. We don't not like them. We just would like them to be aware that there are other things that you can do that are much healthier for your soul. And if you're curious, we're here. So that's Ken playing the music. That, in other words, he's got to add a little commercial spot because, we are, somewhere else, kids. So let us have a 30-minute little break. Don't go anywhere.
30 minutes?
Well, 30 seconds? Go water your little dog, Toto. Grab a piece of cheese, get some crackers, whatever you'd like. Don't go anywhere. It's the real Deel'S. And we'll be right back, okay? Thank you. Hey kids, like the video, give us a thumbs up if you can, give us a cute little heart if you can. Okay, We're live.
Yeah.
And if you like, you can find us on youtube.com at The Real Deels. We've got our own channel where we sit there and just enjoy people, commenting, talking about a bunch of stuff. So
eventually we want to put some pre-recorded stuff on there again like we did with the...
We're hoping to.
A lot of topics to cover. Got a whole book of them. That are just kind of topics that could be anywhere from 5 to 35
we got more
minutes.
thumbs up. Yeehaw.
Some
Thank
of them
you,
may have
guys.
required longer answer. To end the question, I guess one more thing to add. Remember what I mentioned about Patrick is let's go back even further into the Old Testament. Now the method was a little more wrathful, but sometimes you got to go in there and demonstrate. As a Christian, when you show them that Jesus will run out their mess that they brought in through their practice of that religion. And the first thing they ask is why. It's just like the UFO gal who had grays appearing at her bedside, and she had a feeling of evil, and she had sleep paralysis, all the symptoms of a demonic attack. And I said, did you say the name of Jesus? She said, I'm not Christian. I don't believe in that sort of thing. I said, do it anyway, humor me. And then she said that it worked. And why is that? Because they're not sure. And this is when you get to educate them. And just like it did in the Old Testament with this, like proving that even with the Egyptians versus, Pharaoh versus Moses, you have an opportunity that you can show the power. This is why the Roman Catholic Church, which is kind of like the more strict, especially when you get into the more traditional rites, the reverency and everything like that, that it ends up there with that tried and true 500-year-old Roman ritual to get the job done when nothing else works. Sometimes people try the easy thing, the shaman, the witch or whatever, or the ghost hunting team. And then eventually, when it's really...
Quick solutions don't work.
They serious.
Just don't.
Just remember, that's where they always end up at. They go to church. The other denominations over history did that, too. But so it's no different on the ones that would be considered pagan practices of religion. If it's nature or something like that, it's not necessarily
And,
God.
since we're talking about horror and horror movies and stuff like that, a good question from the chat room, when... horror movies can be fun. I mean, it's fun to be scared. I mean, that's kind of like seeing our limits. Like, oh my gosh, what's going to jump out? Scaring people. That scene is like, we're human. We like something to make us jump. It excites us for some strange, crazy reason because we have a desire to fear God. Okay, so to watch these movies that get us going like, woo, there's monsters out there.
Yeah, not when it's a slasher movie. That's
no. Well, that's just it. That's the question is, okay, so when we are actually watching movies, how do we know where to draw the line? I mean, do we draw the line at, blood and guts, at, live body parts? Do we draw the line? So I think that's really good to talk about is how do we know when something's really just going to just affect our minds, affect our sleep? How do we know when to draw the line? What's good for some may be not so good for others. And we know, kids under 16, really, we got to watch their little minds. So what are some good lines to draw, Ken?
Some good lines?
Lines. Like, how do you draw the line on a horror movie? We know nudity and open sex is probably just, it's too invitational for people's minds, especially men.
Next week, as you'll find out when we make our comparisons, you'll find that there's educational aspects when you find the right horror movies that actually led us in the right direction, or even wanted to do this kind of work.
Yes.
And I don't know, whatever God put it in us, and if we hated it, we wouldn't research it. I wouldn't listen to this stuff. But we love our religion, too, and that necessarily doesn't come immediately, either one of them, with people. But, so what we're getting to is a question. So what? So how do we draw this line with people? It's like you can go and say when it's got blood and gore, it's glorifying murder and violence. And even with, the cases that we run into, and it's not like TV, like Supernatural, like the old highway girl. It's such an old thing, and we know the cases. We've had them.
Yep.
And where they pick up a hitchhiker, well, in Supernatural, it's always just like, instead of just, and then there's blood splats in there, and he dies, and he's in there. Not like The Ring, where it's just some mummified person goes, like that. That was better, but still.
I know.
So, first off, is just make sure there's no violence. Like, some of the Stephen King movies, like A Misery with Kathy, whatever her name was, Bates, the Bates gal, with, somebody, don't stay away from the violent stuff. That's not good. It's like what Farah said earlier about, digesting, ingesting these things that have the violence. And the things that are really demonic, there was this movie called 11/11, and it's like you couldn't watch it. You know what? I fell asleep during it, and you said I couldn't watch it.
I just want to say want to say something, okay? Because we had a really sweet question in chat before you continue. James Robert Bennett, you better stay, okay? I don't care if you identify as a psychic medium, and neither does Kenny. All right, we're here for everybody. So you just sit down and you have some fun with us, all right? And if we say anything that hurts your feelings, you better tell us at a PM, you hurt my feelings. But we're here to tell you the truth, okay? And you can be a psychic medium, and we're just going to do our best to help you in any way we can, okay? So please, James Robert, you stay. Got it? Okay, Ken, go on.
Yeah, that's the point. We're going to have to do more shows about
we don't want people to think that they can't sit and hang out with us if they call themselves psychic mediums. That's just silly. Or if you call yourself a Wiccan, you're welcome too. We don't want anybody feeling unwelcome.
In the corner, Paul was in Antioch.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
How?
The problem is
how can we learn unless we sit someplace we're uncomfortable? How can we get to the next spot unless we're scratching our head going, I don't know about that. You got to find out from somebody. And it's got to be said in a way that you can at least sit back and go, can I digest this? Where you're not attacked and you're not vilified.
I got to put food for thought out there as an individual and in our partnership as a husband and wife in ministry. It's very important that we keep ourselves open to the public on this level, and we provide another stone. It's like,
It's not for us to judge.
You call yourself Christian
in
Wiccan,
that sense.
you still got point of it in there, and that's the power of even the name of Jesus.
Yep.
That it works, and it's like that's why we're, what we are. I mean, if anybody's strayed away and then they end up coming back, again, that's a good reason. But we don't close anybody out. Now, some people, if they come in there and they start yelling profanities, I mean, that's totally different because they got their mind made up and they're hating. We'll do a show about psychic mediums and stuff because there's a lot of things that people don't know about it.
And there's nothing wrong with
how it's
being
sensitivity.
What the world calls that, okay? But unfortunately, that label attracts a lot of dark stuff. So we got to be really careful with what we label and put ourselves out as, okay, kids?
Yeah.
Like it's just because names have power and words have power, and we must use them responsibly.
And we believe that you can't charge for it, and I don't even say promote yourself as one.
Yeah.
If people think that you're good for advice.
No. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. So we'll do a whole show on that. Well, let's keep going with the dangerous invitations of why am I haunted? Oh, we were talking about movies. Okay, you have to stay away from the gore. You have to stay away from the nudity. You have to stay away from the open sex. I know. And if somebody says the GD word, turn that sucker off right there. That's horrible. You don't want that in your head. You don't want you thinking that's normal.
Yeah, that's a curse word too, and
that is totally a curse. And if somebody is cursing somebody, that's like in your house. You don't want that energy there. Okay, that's really bad energy there. I guarantee you. Please don't listen to that.
And that's
other
the
things
curse
to
that
avoid
families have done.
In horror. Yep. Other things, okay, we've actually turned off. We were asked, because we used to do like regular, and we might go back to doing this when we do our lunch bunch, because we're working on a lunch bunch show, kids, as we love movies, all right? We're big, because you can see from someone's video output what the culture looks like. And when you look at the sum of all the movies that we've had here in America, it really tells you a lot about our culture. So, again, that's one of the fun things we get to do with Father Bob is talk about this and how it affects exactly what we're doing in spiritual warfare, the paranormal, the supernatural, et cetera, et cetera. So, when we look at movies, they tell us a lot about ourselves. Movies that Ken and I have actually shut off and said, no way, are movies that actually have conjuring in them. Or in other words, I'm like, wait a second, Ken, those are demon names. That's an actual conjuring spell, and those kids are actually damning themselves by participating in the movie. They don't even understand they are. Now, how do you know this? There are many good websites online that, let's say, you've got a movie. Let's see, The End of the World The End of the World and I'm Damned, or something like that. You can go to these websites that check out. Most of them are Christian websites. There might be some that are of other denominations, but I just don't know about them. And you can enter the movie there, and it will give you, how many stars, how many thumbs up, things to watch for. The majority of rating systems usually go for, children under the age of 10. We've noticed more and more PG-13 movies that teenagers are groping each other, they're tonguing each other. And as far as Ken and I are concerned, that is just not, no. Teens do not need to see that.
It's not going to cause your house to be haunted, but sometimes we turn down when they do rituals because they're really lazy on rituals. They used to make stuff up like J.R.R. Tolkien did. And, for a new language and whatever. Now they just borrow something from a spell book and then they do it right on the show. So when they're doing a spell at some sort of satanic black mass, whatever the movie's portraying, turn the volume down because you want to know what something brings in. Just the words spoken in recording. Like in that old movie, what's the one with Ash in it? Where he's just playing a tape recorder of a guy and then it conjures the demons up. Speaking of the word conjuring, you know that the movie The Conjuring, it really didn't fit the story, but see, there's some stupid battle with that the author Gerald Brittle of The Demonologist. There was a story in there called A Conjuring Book for Christmas. That's the only time there was actually that kind of thing done in that book, or in that case. They were going to make it since 1999. They were talking with Warner Brothers, the Warrens, about doing this Demonologist book, and it was going to be called The Demonologist. And then it went on, and finally it didn't even get to, I think, until 2011, and they hadn't figured out what the name was going to be until later on. Now it's called The Conjuring, and then Conjuring 2, Conjuring 3, whatever is the next one. And the point of this thing is that the word conjuring doesn't fit the movies, but the closest thing they had was the book that inspired the first two, right? The first one they came out, I never heard of that story before, the one with Andrea Perron that she talks about. The second one was the Enfield poltergeist case, but that's the only, I just wanted to mention it because that's one of those things, don't get confused with what the word conjuring means even.
True.
Yeah, so we've been around a while, so we know all the players, so in the drama and the dark secrets or whatever too, as far as that goes.
And some people, we have to understand. Yes, hi Nick, caught you live too. I see you out there. What we have to remember is that not all of us can digest and understand some of this stuff. Some people's constitution is way too sensitive to even watch the mildest horror movies. It's like somebody commented, remember that Salem's Lot scene where that little boy comes into the window.
Wait, you're supposed to save this for next week.
I know I'm supposed to, but I'm saying they commented that scene just totally freaked them out forever. Certain scenes will do that, and you won't even realize that. So you really have to have either a strong constitution or B, why do I want to watch this movie? I mean, what do I expect to learn from it? Is it just entertainment? Am I just satisfying a curiosity?
You know what this reminds me of in that sense too? Me and my friends, and I was single until I was 37, and they say, I like this gal this way and that way, wild guys and stuff like that. And they always wanted them. Back then, heavy metal was popular, in the 80s and stuff like that.
Very popular.
And the problem is when you find a gal who was into heavy metal, you couldn't trust her because she was just too wild.
Yes.
Well, sometimes the music becomes their heartbeat and their walk and their philosophy. And you know how people are sometimes with this dark music, and they go shoot up a schoolyard. They have a song like the Charles Manson family, whatever, with Helter Skelter.
Yes.
Or this, what's that guy's name who shot John Lennon? And there was a song he was into.
Yes, remember that.
Yeah, some sort of weird stuff like that. Some people can't listen to, most people shouldn't, but some people are weaker, with this, and they can watch horror movies and it'll actually drag them down spiritually. It'll make them fearful, which is bad. Fear is bad, anxiety.
Well,
you know what I mean? So some people can't, no matter
what. And
not
only that, it gives them nightmares. It gives a lot of people nightmares. I know so many people that just I can't watch this. And I don't recommend that anybody, if you are sensitive to any kind of ugliness, don't watch horror movies past 8 o'clock, okay? Try and watch something happy, like the Star-Spangled Banner or Bugs and, whatever. Just watch something
Bugs
happy.
Bunny?
Bugs Bunny, yes. Bugs Bunny's harmless, I think.
Yeah, they got it on YouTube for free.
Mm-hmm.
Someone there's got YouTube somewhere on there, so you can check it out. Well, moving on along, we'll be talking about specific things on that later on.
And other things, kids, when people are like, wow, why am I haunted? Why am I this? Like we said, curiosity. Too many times people don't realize that they give something legal right and they had no idea. The number one reason we find people are haunted is because they are trying to learn more about God. They're trying to separate their old self from where they'd like to be. And that's when everything starts kicking up. Finances, relationships, people, and they're like, what's going on here? And they're saying things that they say, well, that's not me. Or, I can't believe that happened to me.
You get negative, yeah.
A lot of negatives.
Pessimistic or fearful. And you got to recognize that stuff, because most of the time people bring stuff on themselves. They become forgetful, careless. They become angry. They let their emotions rule them, and all of those things pertain to. How about when you get anxiety to the point where you avoid things like paying your bills? And
that's
oppression can do that too,
with.
and then
that's
you can't blame a demon for. Oh, you got cursed. And then you look and you find out that you just haven't been paying your bills and doing responsible things, and you drive. I don't know. It's just it's kind of like really younger people are going to have more trouble with this because you're still learning about what your limits are and all that. But in a way, that's your personal haunting and oppression too, not just a person that is haunting a house. The funny thing is the word that is used, the words, when it says, why am I haunted?
Yes.
It doesn't really work that way in a such that you end up doing something, gets you haunted by a person. In no Japanese culture that if you kill an unarmed man, you'll be haunted by default. I mean, they got these legends. We're not talking about haunted by a human ghost. You don't do stuff to get you haunted by a human ghost. That kind of thing. So I guess even though the word is supposedly like a word that doesn't fit because it's a demonic haunting. That's not a haunting. A haunting is supposed to be a ghost by definition. Well, that's the old parapsychologist thing. It's not like, it's been 500-year-old definition. It might have been something that came from Hans Holzer or somebody. So you can't really, some of these things I'm not really sure. It's like, what was the origin? Why are we running with this stuff? Even a titled demonologist, we've made cases about that it's not really used outside the mainstream. It's not in the church. There's few exceptions, but we talk the talk and walk the walk. Sometimes you gotta, when in Rome, do what the Romans do. When you're Paul in Antioch,
Yes.
Or you're St. Patrick in Ireland. That's why we use those two statements. Did you want to bring up one of those ones that we mentioned about? What was that? Scared? There was a question of something like, "We ever been scared before?"
Oh yeah. Well, I was going to comment that David Landry was saying that he had read that specifically the statement that I just said about when you're taking those little baby steps to get away from your old self and get closer to God. That's when it hits the fan.
Yeah. And you might get pushed really hard to keep you from going on the right path.
Oh, yeah. And it just reminds you that you don't want to stop doing what you were doing because it was way too much fun anyway. Why would you stop doing that?
Yeah. It's hard to be single and go through these trials, too, because you don't have somebody to direct you like your wife.
Oh,
and you're not
my gosh. It's He-Man of the streets. Versace's in the house. Hey, Ralph. We are just talking about all these impressions and all this curiosity and everything else. Boy, I wish you could call in. We're having a blast.
Yeah, we don't have a Skype number anymore.
I know. We got rid of that Skype number.
I haven't used Skype since, that call-in since Deb's been on vacation.
Exactly.
If Deb's still in there, so... When's your vacation ending?
No kidding. Well, anyway, back to this question that we had about people asking us. Okay, do you ever get scared? Oh boy. Okay, Ken.
I could start with this.
Are we ever not scared? I mean,
it's more like
to not have fear is not healthy.
You'll get this weird,
you must have
kind
of fear of God,
creepy feeling, and then you pray anyway, and it doesn't. It's usually the possessions and stuff that do that, or poltergeist activity starts out. But when I get bothered the most is the day before we go to something, because I'm prepared for the day, And then I wake up and there's something right at my bedside. It's like,
yes.
You know when we had, our younger kids, and then we'd wake up and the kid would be there. They scared the hell out of me too. It's like, Daddy, what? Yeah. You scared me. One of them was imitating. It's like, you scared me.
Deb crawled out from underneath her rock. I see you, Deb.
But they do that a lot.
Yes.
Like it's not and it's like, where is this? So, okay, so you had a visitor. Well, it's just a visitor. I call that the scout in Rome. I got that from old hockey. Mm-hmm. That it's not an infestation. You're not haunted. They just do that. They did it with the Saints, Padre Pio or whatever.
Yes.
And they let you know that you're about ready to, and then that's an indication too that you just got to visit. I guess that case that's coming tomorrow is going to be something legitimate, or it's going to be something more serious than we thought. But that's good because we add that into the mix of red flags or notes, prior to the investigation and during it. But I think that's the part that bothers me the most. It doesn't happen that often, but on occasion, it still catches you off guard. Like, if you guys want to be honest about something, when you're in a house alone and you're even doing something like sitting on a toilet or something, and you think you hear someone in the house, and you don't see anything in there but a toilet plunger for a weapon, I mean, how comfortable you feel? Oh, no, kung fu. I know there's always somebody over.
Well, if your pants are down and that's all you have, that's a heck of a weapon, honey.
I don't want to wake up, someone's getting ready to slit my throat, and I catch them like that. I don't know. When you're half asleep, your mental faculties, your spiritual, or none of those are there.
I think the question is more like when we get a call from secular community, from the diocese, when we get a call, are we scared? No.
No.
Because number one, we are doing so many prayers every single day, including the Auxilium Christianorum, which if you want to assist people on any level of spiritual warfare, you probably ought to join this huge group of people that pray with and for exorcists through the Auxilium Christianorum. You need to have a daily regimen of waking up every morning. You need a daily relationship with your guardian angel, as well as any prayers that you want to do beforehand. Fasting and praying is mandatory. You never, never, never stick your nose where it doesn't belong without denying yourself something and making sure you got plenty of God inside of you before you go out there and prepare yourself to confront and be used by God to handle anything. So do we have fear? A lot of fear of God. There is, when you do and get involved and stick your nose in where Satan doesn't want it, there are all sorts of physical things that go off. Your throat tightens up. The hairs on your back of your neck are just going gangbusters. The skin on your skull is crawling. Your feet are wanting to go backwards because you want to leave. Yet these people need help. Yeah. So you have to basically put on the full armor of God. You take your sacramentals with you, which we take a number of them, and we actually take relics, bones of saints with us. Yeah. There are so many things.
Not for protection, but it doesn't help. I mean, it doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. With the removal of the spirits.
So, as far as do we get scared? Yes, we get scared sometimes. I think that when I get scared, I think that those times are when I look back and I say, oh my gosh, what could have happened? Because I think when you jump in a lake and you don't know what temperature is, you don't have time for fear. And we don't really do we just do a lot of prayer, and we run on a lot of faith. So I guess you could call us
prepared. Yeah, we pray for it.
We definitely
don't get caught
pray.
Off guard. And then
I fear more disappointing God.
Case, and that gal was just going crazy.
That was pretty weird.
I don't want to say that word. It's one of the words I'm going to be probably demonetized for. I was just angry that when she did this, she caught me off guard. Our son calls and asks us, what are you going to have for lunch? And I go around the other side of the house, and here's this girl kicking 300-pound guys off of her. She only weighs like 128 pounds. And I'm going through my bag looking for the crucifix.
Well, what about the poltergeist house?
Where is it? I'm trying to find my tools so I can get... I had them. I always carry them with me. You run on interviews.
What about the poltergeist house? We went in this severe poltergeist house where there's all these police reports and all kinds of stuff, and people are getting hurt, and they're getting stabbed, and this and that. And we've already had, 3 teams in there, and everybody's seeing this stuff, and there's flying stuff. We get there, and I'm praying in Latin. Him and the rest of the team are walking around the house, praying, showing the people how to bless. We're not seeing anything. There's no fear. There's no nothing.
If I had a precognition,
and nothing actually happened.
Yeah.
This will be a case study we'll talk about later, kids. But there is nothing to fear. We never have to fear Satan. If your love of God and your devotion to God and your spiritual practices are zipped up in the bag.
Yeah, don't have a precognition. In other words, if you think about it and you dwell on it and you're not confident and and you're not of faith, you're going to get your anxiety-ridden itself going and fired up. Well, it's the two examples of that one possession case we're talking about, and then this one poltergeist one specific, is that we go there and we're not sure what to expect. Nothing happens, and then it happens a lot. The possession case, I was just going to interview.
Yes.
And I thought I'd send it to the church because it sounded pretty severe.
Well, we already had the nun involved, remember? Local. There was a nun involved.
Yeah.
And that's how we got called in. One of our little blue nuns.
Sisters, she's really saintly.
Such a sweetheart.
Yeah. But that was, in that case right there, if you asked me if I would act that way, when it does it without the plan and the priest is there and all that kind of stuff or anything, I would have never told you in a million years this is what was going to happen. She was cussing and swearing at me and everything, and I just read through there, and for some reason it didn't distract me. Sometimes I'm typing someone on the computer and the kid just asks me one question, like what time is it, and I can't process that. But in this case I was able to do two things at once, and it's divine grace. It's got to be from God. So that's the good thing about when you're all prayed up and everything, is you don't go there alone. In your mind, you're not even there. Sometimes in the same sense that you are at work, being able to multitask in that sense.
Yes, so true.
The other interesting question, I guess that one kind of pretty much goes on. That was
Athena wanted to take it one step further in the fear thing. She said that basically she's speaking as a person being attacked. She felt protected by God, but she was still afraid. And I'll tell you what, Athena, sadly, when you are attacked, it's fearful. It's one of those things when you know something's going on. It's oh goodness gracious! It's one of those things that I will tell you this. There are many times before cases that I will have strange dreams where I know that this can't possibly be real, but I'm still experiencing it. I'm feeling it, and in my dream, I'm like afraid, and I know I want to try and get out of it. But I can't for whatever reason, and I've got to let it play out. I know God's with me. So in the dream, my senses are up. I'm really freaked out. And that's where I think that fear is the strongest, and that's why people are attacked at night the worst, because your defenses are down. You're not openly speaking your prayers. You're not thinking about praying. You're not in a good space that you're actually cognizant of those things that could be attacking you and could be easily prayed off, could easily be rebuked, and you can get rid of them. So what happens? You get into some sort of, shall we say, relaxation, like maybe you didn't do your prayers before bedtime, and all of a sudden you get in a nightmare where you're either being hurt, you're being attacked, or you wake up and something's sitting on your chest. And that is really fearful. And that's not the time to fear. That's the time to say, okay, Jesus, you've got this, Jesus. And yes, that is scary. Yes, you are going to feel a little bit of fear. Does fear need to last? No, never. Fear is what demons feed on, kids. You don't need this.
Yeah, that's the same thing about the movies too. That's what I said. If you're weak on fear, and especially don't watch them during your ordeal. If you're dealing with this phenomenon, no matter what it is, because you don't want to invoke negative emotions. It's like a person who's grieving. If you watch a sad movie that you're feeding that, you don't want to do that. You got to stay away from all those things that are going to feed that. The one thing I was going to say was that big question of silent prayer that we I think we got in our group or something like that. Silent prayer. Do you remember the specific question, the detail of it?
No, not really, honey. It just
It was something like silent
my
prayer.
mind.
Okay, it was like, what's the effectiveness of silent prayer versus prayers out loud? Okay, well, I'll answer part of it and see if you can add something on that. For spiritual warfare, it's a different matter than saying a rosary to a certain extent. Now, okay, let's say you're laid up and you're having difficulty speaking. It's better when you force yourself because of the labor of it to say the prayers, but if you can't, you can say it with your mind. That requires just as much discipline because your thoughts will interfere with it as well. Remember when we said that about sleep paralysis? Shout with your mind the name of Jesus. If you can't remember the prayer, in the name of Jesus Christ, free me. In the name of Jesus Christ, shout with your mind like you're directing it towards whatever is holding you. And it works, and then you can say something, verbally, and then it totally frees you. Otherwise, they'll lay there for 5 minutes, not in a matter of seconds, like this gets it off you. That just shows you can use your mind, but the thing is, you use it because you can't speak. But when you add it to the air and you verbalize it, it's like in the progression of sin or commitment.
Exactly.
I said, I do in our vows. I didn't think it. I acted on it. And then afterwards, it's up to me to act on it to complete the contract, the covenant with God, right?
Precisely. And, Steve just pointed out, too, that, you know what? When you've got God, you've got faith in your heart, and you're going to lean on that, that is the absence of fear. Fear is a lack of God. Fear is a lack of trust. That's why we might think we're afraid. We might, our body might be physically reacting, but we can turn and choose God and give it to Him, and we can regain our peace. And our body may tremble, but our hope and our stand will always be with Him. This is not our home, kids. And since we are at the top of the hour, and we've talked your ear off plenty tonight, we thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you for the patience. And like I said, let's pray for those family members that lost all those young people, 1 to 70 years of age. It was so horrific.
Yeah.
So please join us next Thursday for Father Bob Bailey. I hope you guys had a good time with us tonight, because we sure missed you last night. And please like and share if you can. Subscribe to The Real Deals, because I promise you, we're not all doom and gloom. We do like to share a lot of good news too. And if you have questions, please post them in the video, post them on our page. You can post them in, on Farah, Kenneth Deel, or Kenneth Farah Deel. You can post them on Kenneth and Farah Rose Deel. And anytime, PM us. We might take a little bit of time to get back to you. Thank you for all the hearts and all the smiles and everything else, you guys. As always, never forget, battle's already been won. And we're here to help you have fun on the run back home. Okay? So, don't be late. See you at 8 next Thursday.
There you go.
That's right.
See you then. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. It's Friday
night. Enjoy your Friday night.
Enjoy what's left of it.
That's right. Night, kids.
God bless.
God bless.
The Real Deel's TV show, copyright 2018, a Swords of St. Michael production. Any unauthorized duplication or rebroadcast or retransmission of this broadcast without the express written permission of the Swords of the Saint Network or that of Kenneth and Farah Rose Deel is strictly prohibited. Hello, this is Brother Kenneth. You can help support our ministry by subscribing, liking, and especially viewing our videos on our website, which are designed for self-help and education to help yourself and help others. And it's all free. Make sure you check back every week, because we'll have new content loaded every week, at least another episode of The Real Deel's TV, and share with your friends. You can also click on the bell icon next to the subscribe button near the top right of the screen. It'll give you notifications as soon as we get new videos uploaded, as we'll continue this huge library of education, unlike anything else that you've you've seen on the web so far. Putting the real truth, the real facts, none of this mamby-pamby stuff that has all of this new age stuff, witchcraft, keys of Solomon, none of that stuff is going to be here. Just pure, unadulterated Christian Judeo solutions that work. That's at youtube.com/therealdeals. Or you can surf there from theSwordofStMichael.org.